a bureaucrat in a dystopic society, becomes an enemy of the state as he pursues the woman of his dreams.
I'm your host, Robert, and with me is Donnell. This is episode 209 of the Watchin It podcast, and today we're covering the 1985 occult classic, Brazil. And we have a special guest with us today. We have Bob from Static Radio. We were on his show recently. You should go over and check it out. Bob, go ahead and say hi and tell us what you're doing here.
Oh, hey, I'm here to talk about Brazil and I believe automobiles. Perhaps.
Yeah, there's at least one automobile we'll be talking. Well, there's two notable automobiles in this movie for sure.
Yeah. One very notable, one that's just, semi truck. It's nothing special.
Right, yeah.
But the other one.
Yeah.
So Brazil has been on our kind of go-to list, for when we might need a filler episode or something for quite a while. When we were on your show, we were talking about, I think it was after the show, we were discussing like, hey, we need to get you on for an episode of something. Brazil came up, and we were like, let's do that because you're familiar with the movie. Little did I know that I was going to write more notes on this one movie than I do for entire seasons of TV. So we're gonna
ridiculous.
It's so much.
It's so much.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
But we'll get right into the details. Film came out in 1985. It came out in February 20th and 22nd in France and the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And then it didn't come to the US until December 18th.
Yeah.
At first I was like, oh, this is an Oscar grab movie. No, this wasn't an Oscar grab movie. I forgot. This is a Christmas movie.
I mean, it's at Christmas, sure.
They go to Christmas parties. Santa shows up.
I know.
Right.
It does. I mean, Christmas is very thinly in the background.
A major running gag is that they're giving Christmas presents to
presents.
everybody all the time. It is a Christmas movie. Yeah.
Everybody using the same
It's more of a Christmas
paper.
movie than Die Hard.
Yeah, indeed. Look, I don't get behind the whole Die Hard's a Christmas movie kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
To be honest with you.
I just was trying to be controversial.
You are controversial.
Robert's joined you on that controversy.
7.9 rating on IMDb. I think that's maybe a little soft.
Really?
That's a good rating. I could do this an 8.5, honestly.
I feel 7.98. I feel like that's right there.
Fair enough.
Oh, really?
Fair enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to go 8.9.
Oh, wow. The whole point.
Yeah,
up.
I like this movie a lot.
More than Robert even.
Made $9.9 million on a $15 million budget, not commercially successful, but I feel it's probably like made that in the abstract.
I mean,
if you watch the movie, you'll know that is a lie.
I'm about to say. I mean, that's the thing is, this is definitely not the kind of movie that everybody is going to get into. Like this movie, because I mean, I was gonna say it's listed a lot of places as a sci-fi comedy. And while there is stuff that is comedic, I feel like because of so much of the stuff that's happening, like it's like that would be funny, but I'm too busy trying to figure out what the hell's going on over here to laugh. And so
there's a lot. I mean, it's Terry Gilliam. It's a very visual film.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Oh, very visual.
Yeah. So there are 7 different versions of this movie.
That I did not.
Did anybody watch that? Mine was 142 minutes. That is the final cut that made it to the U.S. Did anybody watch the happy ending cut?
No.
So there's a cut that's the primary cut that made it to the made it to the big screen was 132 minutes. The 142 minutes got released on the DVD because this movie won a bunch of awards. But there's also one that Universal, I think, tried to pushed really hard. That was 93 minutes. It was like an hour shorter.
Minutes.
And it's called the Love Wins edition, where it's all it ends on a happy note, and they just cut out a ton of stuff. And to be honest with you, I think there's a lot of stuff in this movie you could cut out.
Oh, you could cut down this movie.
Every movie is too long. Every movie. You can't. There's at least 10 to 15 minutes of every movie that could just.
Oh
go.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But Universal or whatever company released it in the U.S., they were like, oh, we want it to be a commercially acceptable hour and a half movie. I'm like, boy, the times have changed. Everything's 3 hours now.
Especially if you wanted to win an Oscar.
Yeah, they would have done Brazil and Brazil Part 2 if this had come out recently.
Well, I mean, so the question is, so this was based when he wrote the script for this. He based it off 1984, the book, and an Italian movie called 8½, which I've never seen or heard of and know nothing about.
8½, yeah. Oh, you should watch it.
It sounds like I do need to. I was reading a little bit about it, but it sounds like I definitely need to. And then he got really pissed off because he started writing this in 1982, and then the movie 1984 came out, and he was like, "Damn it!"
Yeah,
Like I didn't beat him to it. But a lot of people consider this like a sequel to 1984, which I think a little satirical.
Yeah, I would say though this is much more interesting, I think, than 1984 because everybody plays 1984, and so this is a little bit different.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I just want to say I had no idea what I was stepping into when we're like, let's watch Brazil. I spent a large portion of this movie going, what the heck's going on here? Is this real or is this in his mind? What is that? Wait, who's this character? Have I seen them before? There's
you needed to watch it 3 times, Donnell, because this is not my first
time.
time.
A lot that is going on in this movie. And yeah, for your first watch, you will just be like, what? Who's that? Wait, am I supposed to pay attention to that guy? It was very bizarre, very enjoyable, but still, there's a lot of it. I have theories about. I mean, I'm sure we're going to get into it, but I have theories about this movie and what is real and what is not, and when it starts being fake. And
I've seen it about a half dozen.
I think
times.
that's the point.
Yeah,
that's the point of the movie is that there is a fine line between reality and fantasy, and we all go through it in the course of our lives every day, all the time.
Yeah, this movie hit hard with me as far as like, oh my God, this is part of my life. I am the bureaucracy sometimes.
No, that's harsh stuff.
Written and directed by Terry Gilliam, known for all the Monty Python stuff. He acted and directed Monty Python and the Holy Grail. He wrote almost all the other Monty Python stuff. He also wrote Time Bandits, 12 Monkeys, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Yeah. Prolific director. I don't always like a lot of his stuff, but definitely there are some classics under his belt for sure. Yeah, never been a Monty Python guy.
Oh, really? I'd say I pretty much like anything that he's put out, and it varies, right, in its intensity and so forth. But anytime I see a Terry Gilliam movie, I'll watch it. So,
I'll check out his stuff, with the exception of Monty Python. I grew up in a town with 3 colleges and worked with a lot of college students, and I could probably quote every line of the Holy Grail. Never seen the thing. It was just like so annoying that everyone was quoting it all the time that I was just like, I don't want to. I'm full up on the amount of this
You're
movie.
Full up on Monty Python. Yeah. Okay. He was the animator, so in Monty Python. So you had to watch some of it to get anything. His stuff was not always said; it was seen. Terry Gilliam.
Yeah.
You had to see it.
He also co-wrote this with Tom Stoppard, who wrote Empire of the Sun, which is a fantastic film. Our early Christian Bale. I mean, as early as you can get, he's a child. Yeah, and then another guy named Charles McCowan, and I couldn't find anything really interesting about Charles.
I mean, the only thing I was gonna say about Charles is like literally reading about it. All his writing has been with Terry Gilliam on other projects, and then he really sounds like his acting career is like he wasn't in the Monty Python group, but he was adjacent. Like they invited him. He does a lot of stuff with them. And like it really sounds like Charles McNow was literally like a friend of the crew. And so that's why he's like, yeah, you want to help write this? Sure, I'll come over and write. You want to pop in this scene? All right, sure, I'm here. Like it sounds like
he just showed up. He was in the movie too. He acted in the movie too.
Exactly.
Well, Terry Gilliam does show up as a character in this movie as well, briefly.
Yep.
We'll get to that when we're talking about the plot. Yeah, no, he was just he knew somebody and he was invited to the parties and just wormed his way in. Yeah.
That's, I mean, it's looking at his stuff. It's like
nothing wrong with that. That's how Hollywood works.
He knew the Monty Python crew.
It's a good gig if you can get it. Right?
What is it called in Britain? In the UK, it's not Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
Because there's like
as
Bollywood in
far
India,
as
and then there's Hollywood in the U.S. Is there a name
I don't
for
think they have
the
a
UK
they don't have a
version?
name. They just
No?
it's the entertainment industry.
That's
That's all I know.
that's just bad staff work.
Yeah,
They need to
I don't
get
think
on
they
that.
have a London Wood or anything like that.
Yeah.
London would.
But they do it because they do. It's very different, right? So over there, there's Irish productions, there's Scottish productions, there's British productions, there's Welsh productions, and it's all very separate. Sometimes they kind of cater to the different areas. So
Well, they're never
I don't
going anywhere
think
if
they
they
have a
don't.
centralized. I mean, London would be the central point, I suppose, but it's not. You could just. It's not like here where you got to fly, 5 hours to get somewhere.
Yeah.
They literally like hop over a fence and you're in the next country. So
It's gonna
it's
be
not quite the
knowing
same.
the British, they'd call it like Filmy Wilmy Land or something like that.
What do you, Russell Brand?
Let's talk about
Russell
some of
Brand,
the.
Philly Willy.
Let's
Go
talk
ahead.
about some
I'm
of
sorry.
the. They have the weirdest names for things
Yeah.
sometimes over there. They've got like a screw bop or something is like the name of the thing, and I'm just like, what are you doing, man? Like, y'all didn't even have like the good drugs. Like, what when you came up with these names?
Tickety boo, tickety boo. Shall we go? Continue.
Let's talk about the actors.
Nope.
Oh, no.
Stop you right there. We've got to talk about the producer. I know we
Oh, I didn't
often.
know. I didn't look into the producer.
So
Arna Nilsson.
Arden, yes, Milshan. One is this
Mhm.
man is like when you say producer of like just a guy who's just like throwing money at movies, that's what this guy
Mhm.
is. Because he
He's
has
big
produced
time.
so many movies. So
Mhm.
many movies of all different types. Just some of the ones that I was going through. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but right next to that is
Mhm.
Birdman, which is right next to
Mhm.
Man on Fire, Daredevil,
Yeah.
Marley and Me. He's done like so many of different Big Mama's House, so like all over the place.
Yeah, 12 Years a Slave,
Yeah.
L.A.
Yes.
Confidential, The Revenant. He's got a
Heat.
lot of Oscars on
Yes.
his shelf, man.
He does.
Mhm.
But here's the main
time
reason why
producer.
I would like to talk about this man is this is when you bring him up on IMDb, this is what it says about him when you read his first line. It says, Aaron McNang is an Israeli billionaire businessman, which is like, okay, yeah.
Mhm.
Film producer, cool. And former spy.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like, who, what now?
Well, the funny thing is, there's a lot of spies in his age group because of World War II.
Yeah.
So Christopher Lee.
Oh,
the great
yeah,
actor,
famously.
he
His
was
stuff
a
is still
spy.
classified. Like, he wasn't
Yeah.
just like a regular spy. He was like part of an
Right.
elite team that
Mhm.
their entire thing was like, here's a bunch of money and weapons.
Yeah.
Go set Europe on fire.
Right,
That was their
do
mission.
bad things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do bad things to make the enemy work harder and stuff. Yeah.
I still love
definitely.
Jackson. I can't think of his first name. That did the Lord of the Rings
Peter
movies.
Jackson?
Peter Jackson talking
Jackson.
about it. He was talking about like when they had to stab a guy in the back and he had
Right,
him
stab the guy
scream,
in
and
the
he's just like, yeah, he's like that's not what it sounds like.
That's not what it sounds like.
He's like, what does it sound like? He's like, huh. And he's like,
Yeah.
so that's how I'm gonna do it. And he's like, okay, man. Like,
Yeah.
you know what it's like to
problem.
stab a man in the back and what it sounds like. I'll let you do it.
We will defer to you.
Yeah.
Anyways, I just thought
So,
this guy was the amount of movies
that's-
he's
yeah, it's
produced,
crazy.
and then just a former spy. I'm like, okay,
He's got an Oscar room. He
Yeah.
doesn't have like.
yeah, he's a big time producer. Yeah,
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. And back in '85, he was. So can you imagine? A lot of the things you mentioned were way past '85.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I want a
Yeah.
documentary. There's got to be a documentary about the guy. Like, how do you go from spy to
Probably
like
not.
super
Not till
rich?
Not,
and
is he
Yeah.
dead? I don't even know if he's dead.
No, it says he's alive.
79 and kicking.
yeah.
Yeah,
Born in
so you won't see
1944.
that till he's dead. You won't see it till he's dead.
So our first and main actor, Jonathan Pryce, fantastic, love him. He did Ronin, Pirates of the Caribbean movies. He was in The Crown. He's been recently in The Three Body Problem.
You better bring up Three Bodies
Mhm.
Problem.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he is in a
Game
little
of Thrones. He
known.
was on Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, well we don't
Yeah.
talk about Game of Thrones anymore. Okay,
Sorry.
This is like- a black mark on an otherwise stellar record. He was also in a little-known made-for-TV movie called Barbarians at the Gate that came out in 1993, an HBO film,
Mhm.
and we would not have like The Big Short without this movie. I love it.
Right.
I watch it once a year. It is about the corporate buyout of Nabisco in the
Right.
80s. It was the
Takeover.
first.
Yeah.
It was the first like multi-billion-dollar company acquisition, and it is
Mhm.
just fantastically done. A lot of big name actors, and if you like The Big Short,
James
you
Garner
should
in
go.
that, right?
Yeah,
James Garner was in that. Yeah.
But yeah, if you like The Big Short or Margin Call, you need to go look at his progenitor, which is Barbarians at the Gate.
Mhm.
Fantastic, and love it.
One last credit for
Yeah, an
him.
HBO movie, if I recall.
Yeah,
It
yep.
was not even at theaters. It was just
Yep,
on
just
HBO.
HBO made for TV movie. They did a lot of really
Mhm.
good stuff back in the 90s. They did one about Jay Leno and what's his name trying to fighting over the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
The Late Show.
The Late
Yeah.
Show, right? No, what was it called?
Oh man, that's a
Late
good question.
Shift. Late Shift.
Yes, Late Shift.
Yeah, Daniel Roebuck was Leno, and Higgins.
Boy,
what's
you
his
looking
name?
this up, or you just got that archaic
No, I just got it in my
information your
head. I got it in
Because
my
the guy
head.
who played Jay Leno in that could only ever play Jay Leno. Like he could never play anything else. He looks just like him.
They put a chin on him, but he's done a lot of stuff. Daniel Roebuck's been in a bunch of other stuff, but Higgins, I can't think of his first name. I think his name's David Higgins, but and he's been in a bunch of stuff too since then. So he did a good Letterman, but
Yeah. Everybody was good in that. It's a fantastic film. Yeah.
Yeah. Rich Little, Johnny Carson. Well, David.
I love in that movie when they introduce they're introducing the lineup when Carson says he's not going to be on, and they've got like the people that are supposed to be Seinfeld up there like for the first season. Like,
I was gonna say one last credit for Jonathan Pryce was Command and Conquer Red Alert 3.
yeah.
Because I played the crap out of those games as a kid, and I do remember him in the games, even though I didn't know who he was when I was younger. Really didn't connect the dots till later. I was like, yeah, he was in that game because I played that game.
He was pitchman for Infinity Motors as well. The Infinity Q45. He did all the Infinity
he's one of those
commercials
guys
back
who's
in
got
the
a
90s.
voice. Yeah, he's got a good
Yeah.
voice.
And he was in a James Bond movie as a villain.
Yeah, not a great one though. It was like Tomorrow Never Dies or something.
Right. He was in with Pierce Brosnan,
Yeah.
which is kind of, not the greatest Bonds.
GoldenEye is always my Bond. That's the one
That's
I
very
grew up
good,
with.
but that was the first one, right, with Pierce? So
Yeah. All the other Pierce Brosnan ones are not very good.
No, it all was just like, I don't know what it was.
I mean, look, I'm an outlier on James Bond. I don't think the Daniel Craig ones are good. Honestly,
Really?
they don't have that
Casino
same
Royale?
feel
But I'm
as
not
the
a
older
Bond fan
ones.
in general.
They're too serious.
Mm.
I need a
Well,
little
that's
more
what I wanted to
wackiness
do
to
for a
it.
while, You like the Roger Moore then, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you like those.
I need him to go. I need him to end up on the moon. I need him on a table with a laser beam coming at him. I need freaking sharks with laser beams. That's what I need.
That's right.
That's how you enjoy a James Bond movie.
Our next build actress is Kim Greist. Greist?
Greist, I would say.
Oh, I got nothing on her. She came,
No,
she went.
was
She had
popular
no
at
career.
that moment.
Yeah.
That was about it.
Like what happened? She seemed fine in this, even though it's a small role. Honestly, she's in it for like 10 minutes, if anything.
I mean, so she
if you count it, if you had a stopwatch.
she seems fine in this, but that's because Gilliam wanted. She was not the first or even second choice for this role, and Gilliam was not happy with her performance. And the reason why she has a small role is they cut a bunch.
Oh my God, they cut stuff from this
Yeah.
movie. I figured he put every second of the film.
No. Actually, no, there's more than just Jamie Lee. He also thought about Madonna and Kelly
that would've been
McGinnis.
good.
Madonna would have been weird, yeah.
Let's see.
She was too big
Kelly
at this
McGillis,
time,
she would have
though.
been fine.
Yeah.
She would have been fine. But I don't know. They're
Rosanna
actually the way that
Arquette.
the movie is cut together with her part. It actually works. I mean, it works better if you ask me. If there was more
I
of
think
her in
yeah.
the movie, it would have not been as interesting a movie.
It makes it weird and bizarre, her whole thing.
Yes.
With the way that it ended up getting cut.
She's-
How old was
she's,
Julianne Moore during this time period?
Somewhat
She would've been good.
unattainable in a way, and that plays to a trope. That
Yeah.
plays to people's the way they like to watch movies, right? So
Well, without her being in it more, especially when you get towards the end and they actually meet, and her whole character's just like, what is happening right now? This is because she hasn't been there's no context. She's just like all of a sudden this is happening to her.
She's mystery. She is
He's not
mystery
in his
personified.
delusion.
For some reason, Robert De Niro has third billing on this movie.
It's because he's Robert De Niro.
He's in it for, I forgot that he was in it for more than one scene. Honestly, he's in it for 3 scenes.
I did too. When I watched
like
it again,
5
I'm like, oh, there he
minutes.
is again.
Yeah.
There he is again. Yeah.
Well, so a little bit of backstory on that. Robert De Niro wanted to play Jack Lint.
Okay.
And read for it. And unfortunately, Terry had already picked who he wanted for Jack Lynch, so I don't even know why he let him
Michael
read for it.
Palin.
But he was like, Robert De Niro was like, man, I really want to be in this film. And so Terry offered him. He's like, hey, I have this smaller role. It's not normally what you would put Robert De Niro in, but Robert's like, I want to be in the movie. And so he took the role.
He got the better end.
Yes.
I was gonna say the Jack Lint character was not as interesting as Tuttle.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Tuttle is that's the iconic
way
character.
more interesting.
Mhm.
Way more interesting.
He's more iconic than the main character, to
But,
be honest with
part
you.
of the reason Tuttle may be so iconic is because he's strangely Robert De Niro.
True. Yeah, because you're just what
no,
is Robert
I
De Niro
think-
doing here?
I think that even if you didn't know it was Robert De so you have some time now, right? So time's passed, and if people are watching this and they don't realize that that's Robert De Niro, I think he has a presence, and that's beyond his usual,
Yeah.
De Niro-esque persona that he normally does.
No, it's an amazing character. Yeah.
Yeah, he did a different character. He could have easily done De Niro, and he didn't. So.
Yeah. Anybody you throw into this role, if they become known later, I mean, De Niro was obviously known at the time.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, oh man, I can't believe that they got him for this role, or her or whatever. Everyone else is kind of minor, but there are a few names worth throwing out there. Bob Hoskins.
Bob Hoskins. Yeah.
I have a theory, and if this theory is true, I'm taking a 0.1 point off of my review of this, because I have a theory that this movie is the reason we got that tragedy of a Super Mario Brothers movie.
I'll say it. I like the Super Mario Brothers live action movie.
All I know
it's
is
a terrible Mario movie. It's a fun movie though. When you're a kid.
His performance in this and the guy who acted alongside of him reminded me so much of him in Mario and John Leguizamo, and I was just is this where this came from? Is this when did the makers of that movie watch Brazil and be like, what if they were Mario Brothers? Because
I think Roger Rabbit got him Mario.
Yeah. Oh, Roger Rabbit's such a good
because he was a name in Britain back at this point, but he wasn't a name in America until after Roger
I will
Rabbit.
say that's one thing I didn't realize until this movie was that I didn't realize Bob Hoskins was British.
That's why. He's he does a little bit more of a Cockney bit in this movie, but he doesn't have a lot of dialogue, but he's doing a Cockney kind of thing. So
Ian Holm,
I think that's his more normal voice as well.
Ian Holm is playing the boss man. Fantastic character, well done. I can only think of him as being in the Lord of the Rings movies these days, but boy, he really did a job in this role, this small role for sure. Probably bigger role than the actress for sure. Like, I mean, Bob Hoskins had a bigger role than the actress. And then Catherine Hallmond, who plays the mom, did a fantastic job as well. The stuff they put her through in this role was ridiculous, and she just rolled with the punches. Yeah.
Again, though, but the funny thing is, everybody you're saying, if you were to actually have the stopwatch on them, I don't think any of them really had a lot of screen time.
No, besides
Jonathan Pryce.
Yeah, Jonathan Pryce drove this movie.
Yes.
All the other actors, even though there's a lot of really nice names in there and people that had done stuff or went on to do great things.
We forget Charles McEwen. He was in it too.
Yeah, he just carrying the whole movie.
I want to bring up, don't always do this, but I always want to bring up the guy who did the music for this movie. His name is Michael Kamen.
Fantastic music in this movie.
Fantastic movie, but the main reason I bring him up is this guy was the music guy of the 80s and 90s. He did all of the Lethal Weapons, did Die Hards, he did I had more. He did License to Kill, he did Roadhouse, he did Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Like in the 80s and 90s, if you were making a movie, maybe he didn't do your did your music, but you considered him. Like this guy was the guy who we're like, we're making a movie, like, oh, we should probably hit up Michael because like this guy was doing all the movies.
Most late 70s looking motherfucker I've ever seen. This dude acted, directed, and scored porn. Just on his day off.
Yeah.
Well, in the 80s, he did a lot of cocaine and stuff. So
oh, yeah, absolutely. No way he didn't.
Yeah, totally. Hey, I'll make some music for you. Come on over.
December 18th, 1985. We'd like to go back and, because it didn't make a lot its budget back. It probably did later in DVD sales and that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, that's a total lie. They made their money. They just don't want to pay Terry Gilliam royalties.
I'm sure he's on the net and not
Charles
the gross.
McEwen is getting screwed out of his writing royalties.
We like to go back and look like what happened at the theaters a month, and before and after, to see what it was up against. I'll be honest with you, late 1985, trash time for movies. Not a lot going on there. December 11th, we didn't even have anything in November worth talking about. December 11th, we had Jewel of the Nile. The 13th of December, we had Clue, which is a pretty big movie. That probably beat the crap out of anything else that was showing. And then on the 20th, 2 days after this movie was released, Enemy Mine came out. Another not commercial success, but we covered it here on Watchin It podcast, so I wanted to bring it up. A fantastic, fantastic cult classic sci-fi space movie.
Dennis Quaid, Louis Gossett Jr.
Yeah, good stuff. He just died recently, Louis Gossett Jr.
Yeah, that's sad.
Story
Iron
career.
Eagle.
I mean, look, the dude was like 150 years old, okay? He had a life. I'm not sad about it. He was in a bunch of classic movies. He probably did a shit ton of cocaine in the 80s. I'm not going to hate.
Yeah, he's hey, mayonnaise. There you go.
So, as I just said, from watching this movie, learned that Bob Hopkins was British. I also also really
dead.
Yeah, well, I know that. But no, just literally now just found out that Terry Gilliam was from America.
Nice.
Yeah, he's American.
I didn't know. Yeah,
he feels so British.
He does, and he's the only part of the Monty Python crew who's not British. So that's why I just assumed he was British. It's like, well, everybody is British in that crew. And it's like, no, he's from here. I'm like, what?
Look, we're funny guys, but we got to bring in an American to make it funny. We got to bring in an American to write this stuff.
He was he was a stinky hippie that was working over there in animation back in those days, in the late 60s. Yeah, awesome. Weird, huh?
Well, we're going to take a break there, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the plot of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about the plot of this movie. 8:49 p.m., somewhere in the 20th century. I have no idea. That's unimportant information.
Yeah.
Has no bearing on the rest of the movie.
It gives us absolutely nothing. So, one thing, I just put this down. I wrote this so many times that this movie goes from 0 to 100 real quick, a lot of times. Because literally, like I said, I had no idea what this movie was going into it, and it starts out with some weird duct advertisement.
Central Services, the new duct design.
Yes,
Central Services.
By the way, the richest person we meet in this movie, crappy duct work in her home.
What was up with all the duct work in this movie?
There's a theme there with the
I
duct
feel
work.
like there's some deeper meaning behind it. I'm not
there
smart
is.
enough to understand
I think
it.
so.
The tubes, man. The tubes.
It's all tubes. It's a precursor to the internet.
There we go. But yeah. We go from this ad about the duct work into literally terrorist bombing of the TV shop, just exploding.
Yeah, there's this whole terrorist subplot going on that we never get. We never meet any of the. I guess like Robert De Niro, the title character, a part of the terrorist.
Maybe.
We don't know though. But that's the thing. It's insinuated, but there never is anything overt.
Never confirmed.
They insinuate that Jill is a terrorist at one point, but it turns out that she's not.
C was a terrorist by association because. They needed to.
But I think
we're jumping ahead.
That sets up the paranoia of the society, right?
Yeah.
So there's this constant.
It's all part of the control, probably. It's just the government's doing the bomb, right? Because they talk about they talk about a forever war, which is very much a 1984 kind of thing, where it's just there's always a war with Eurasia going on, so everybody has to be in line.
Yeah. Yeah, and so then we pivot to another scene that's going to go from 0 to 100 real quick of a family just enjoying Christmas, some presents. Everything's chill. We see some of their neighbors, and then suddenly there's a hole being blasted in the ceiling, and the door being kicked in, and I was like, "What the hell is going on?"
Well, I mean,
but prior to that, something happens though.
Yeah, there's the precursor to that. Is there's a guy working in a file room.
Yes,
and
a
there's
worker drone.
Yeah, there's a machine cranking out data, and he I thought he was gonna fall and break his neck after he killed the bug, but he kills a bug and it falls into the machine and changes a T to a B from Tuttle to Buttle.
To a B to Buttle, yeah. But that, I think the important thing about that scene is we get our first glimpse into the machine. The governmental machine is right there.
Yeah,
it's all this data. It's what I would call analog heavy. It's like analog merged with slight digital, and at the time, that's really what was available.
Yeah, they didn't have a lot of crazy computers. I love how they have all the small screens, but then they have magnifiers.
Right.
Yeah.
I also love all the propaganda. It's like, they're like very first, kind of scene. First of all, weird camera angles to begin with. A very Terry Gilliam kind of thing. But it's loose lips get the noose. Like
exactly.
There's another one that's like, it's like, don't suspect your friend, rat on them. It's like it's like report them.
Yeah.
It's all very subversive,
ahead of its time, very much. If you see something, say something, kind of thing.
Well, but the funny thing is, if you really look in the historical context for that, it's after its time, because that's all Vietnam War era
for sure
stuff, and that's where Gilliam grew up.
Loose lips sink ships kind of thing.
Post World War II, Vietnam era, that was all that. And then but it gets into the whole idea of oppression. You guys, I'm sure you guys have seen Starship Troopers. That has a lot of that same kind of stuff in the 90s.
Yeah.
So
the book's a wild ride too for Starship Troopers. And this is when we get our first taste of the bureaucracy of it. Is like Buttle gets taken away from his family. He's bagged there, and they're like, okay, wife, you need to sign the receipt.
Sign the receipt for kidnapping
twice,
your husband.
Double sign, not just one.
Just
with carbon copy nonetheless.
And we also see the part with the guys fixing the roof and we don't make mistakes.
Right.
I love that. I love that. Like, the cops are so trigger happy. It's like as soon as someone peeks in the hole, they start a blasting.
Hey, city services. This is crazy.
And then central services comes in to fix the hole, and they're like, oh, we never make mistakes, and it drops through. It's like they changed it to metric while we weren't looking. Like,
that's right. The constant evolution of the bureaucracy, but then it's also the first time you meet the dream girl.
Jill Layton.
Yep. So then after this, we get to see a little bit of the bureaucracy, the machine, as we see a manager of a department basically watching his employees work stations. Seeing them slacking off, but then every time he opens the door, they're all hard at work. He can't catch them. But
I love the scene of the document traveling through the building and stuff. Without this movie, there is no Hudsucker Proxy.
Right. That's very
this
much,
is anybody who hasn't seen Hudsucker Proxy, if you liked Brazil, you need to go watch Hudsucker Proxy. It is fantastic and just has this feel all over it. Yeah.
Right.
Check that one.
Another auteur, right? So Coen Brothers movie, The Auteur.
Oh yeah. I feel like Coen Brothers have kind of gone downhill in the last decade or so, but they did some really good stuff in the 90s.
They got rich and got comfortable.
They had a very good.
They stopped doing movies together. They started doing movies separate, and that was a mistake.
Yeah. Mistake.
But so this manager realizes that one of his staff is missing, and this is where he calls up Sam Lowry, which is our main character.
Yeah.
Sam is having one hell of a dream. I feel like if it wasn't for the fact that this society is so locked down and stuff, I'd be like, Sam's doing some good drugs before he goes to bed. Because this dream, especially as it gets expanded upon later in the movie, this dream is off the wall.
yeah. He just flying through the clouds, kissing a girl that's just hovering like an angel.
Yeah,
kind of a
behind
spirit
a
person.
veil of some sort.
And so you got the juxtaposition of the freedom of flight versus the horrible conditions that he has to live in.
Well, I mean,
with all the tubes.
I love the dream sequences they have throughout the movie. Could have cut them completely, and I don't think we would have lost really anything.
Yeah, but I think that it is the kind of the yin to the yang, right? So it shows you what utopia is, and then we see what dystopia is.
Yeah,
and so without him, though, it's just another dystopia. So it kind of, and it also shows it kind of just like the where he's opening the door and seeing everybody working and closing the door and they all goofing around, right?
Yeah.
It shows the mentality of the worker, right? So nobody wants to live like this, but we all agree to live like this.
Yeah, you can take away my soul, but you can't take away my mind or something like that.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot.
I think it plays more into it.
Yeah, I mean, there's like when he's fighting the samurai much later in the movie, and at first I didn't understand what they were trying to say about that, but it's like obviously the samurais, the state, the whole bureaucracy apparatus, and he kills it, and he's in it, and it's like, oh, he just killed his bureaucracy, and that it's his turning point within that. So no, I mean, it's important. I just think if you wanted to shave down this movie on time, like you could cut almost all of it, and it would still work. But anyway, he gets woken up by a phone call from the most annoying to use phone I've ever seen. I have no rhyme or reason of why he puts that cable in that slot and how it makes any sense.
It's the analog digital conversion there, yeah. But that was like the old switchboards, right? So if you ever see the old movies with a switchboard, they use phono cables and sockets just like that. So.
At first, I thought it was like a Jewish phone. So they have phones that like have air coming out, and then they block the air so that way they can get around the rule of not pushing a button on the Sabbath.
Right, they can't work on the Sabbath. Do anything. Yeah, but no, I don't. I think it was more just fleshing out the world, is my guess.
Yeah.
But
making it very clear how annoying it is to live in this world.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Would you do that with your phone? I mean, the old phones, you had a rotary phone where you had to go. If you did 0, for Christ's sake,
I remember.
Break your finger.
But we find out the reason he is not at work is because he slept in because his alarm is busted.
Yep.
And then we find out that all the technology is just kind of a little broke.
A little jank.
Right. Again, I don't
sound familiar.
Yeah, I don't think that we get the fifth element without this movie.
The Fifth Element is the shiny version of this world. Yeah,
where everything's just a little, you need to bump it a little bit to get it to work. Yeah.
It has to. I mean, you talk to Luc Besson again, another auteur. You have to talk to him about how that inspired him, because he would have been not super young at that point, but he was a younger person.
He was doing movies in the 80s, in the late 80s. Yeah.
Yeah, but he was
not quite weird stuff. Oh yeah. I love Luc Besson work. Fantastic. Maybe not his like
Subway's
Lucy,
the first one.
We see that everything's automated in his place, but like badly so.
Yeah.
I like his apartment though. I could live in that apartment. That feels like me. It's got a certain 70s, 80s vibe with all the glass brickwork and stuff. I'm like, oh yes, this is a little small for me, but I could get down with it.
Yeah. And
put in some hue lighting, we're all set.
So Sam, after his eventful morning, heads off to work. We basically see that Sam is just coasting in his job. He has a
man
easy
after
job,
my own heart,
and he's just coasting.
Doesn't want a promotion.
Yeah, doesn't want a promotion, but like we also see in this scene a little bit later, seeing like he's definitely better at this job than even his own boss. Like he's
He's the go-to guy.
Probably doing it longer than his boss, because like you said, he doesn't want a promotion. He's just coasting there. But we find out that even though he doesn't want a promotion, he's getting one because his mom pulling strings behind the
Right.
behind the
So
scene.
he's actually a at a higher social level than
Yes.
he is for that job. Really, that
Yeah.
job is below his
Yeah.
social standing.
Yeah, he should already be like a congressman or something at this point in his
Right.
life.
Yeah. Some ambassador or something. Right. He should be sending people to the front for the war.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would assume that this is like he's out of college. This is a job that his mom got him on the road to becoming some kind of legislature or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they talk about that. Some of the dialogue is, why aren't you, at this other departments and so forth, and that's where Jack Lint, we mentioned the character, his buddy from, who seems to be a contemporary, but we'll get more to that later.
We get Jill working her way through the bureaucracy.
Yep.
I don't. This had to be a trope before this movie, right? Where it's just like, oh, you need to go to another line to get this stamped in order to get this thing done.
Definitely.
Like, for sure.
The curse of the DMV.
I mean,
as it were.
that happened in some early show. I watched a lot of early.
I think there's Marx Brothers movies that make fun of that kind of stuff.
I've watched like, what is it? I Love Lucy and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you need a 775 stroke Z.
Can we talk about the stroke thing, because they intermingled stroke with dash and slash.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, the slash is a stroke, the dash is not a stroke.
Yeah.
And that upset me. That upset my
but
my
you also have to remember that this comes mostly from a British perspective, and so that's why I said Zed. But so that may be a
Zed
stroke.
angers me every time I hear it. I'm like, overdub that, please, for my American sensibilities. Okay,
get an American dub, and that's where they just say zero.
But yeah, he comes in and he they're trying to figure out how to fix this mess up and whatnot. And the whole crux of the whole Buttle Tuttle storyline is not that they killed a man.
No.
But then they've got to figure out what to do with a refund, because he got charged for getting picked up and processed when he shouldn't have been.
Yeah, which is all the other part of that is
31
crazy.
pounds is the whole crux of this.
The other part that is crazy is the fact that you get charged for being arrested.
I love at the end when he's arrested and it's like, well, we can give you a loan for your service. Well, he's in the bag.
But that's the oppression of the state, as it were, right?
So
that's just another example of the oppression.
Oh yeah.
I was going to say, we skipped over him meeting up with his mom.
No, we're right there.
Scene.
We're right there.
Yeah. Well, no, because the thing you were talking about happens after this.
Oh, fair enough.
But yeah, I was going to say, one is, I just want to say, this is some fantastic, prosthetic work they have for this scene where they're stretching her face. Because I'm like, whatever that mask is, whatever they got, is just like, really, it looks real, but also like really, they're really pulling on it and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, the hell that they put Catherine Hellman through in this one scene where they like wrap her face in cellophane and stuff. I'm just like, what bravo, lady. Like, where's your supporting actress Oscar for this, or whatever they give in the UK?
But he goes to see his mom because he wants to hash out why he's getting promotion. She is obsessed with plastic surgery and being younger and fashionable.
Hey, it seems to work out for her at the end.
Maybe. I mean, I just like the line where she's talking to her plastic surgeon and it's like, you're so good at this. Would you like to be Surgeon General? And it's like, so how powerful she is that she could make anybody surgeon. And then B, that's like, you're literally just going to hand the keys to the kingdom to your plastic surgeon on a whim. Yeah. And it's just
that's how business gets done in this world.
Where she's at, like
exactly. That's that unfortunately is so true, and so it's sad.
Yeah,
but true. Yeah.
So speaking of her fashion, shoe hat, kind of pops.
Yeah, shoe hat. Yeah, shoe hat.
I'm down with the shoe hat. I'm surprised that's not happening these days.
Although in certain parts of the world would be very negative.
Really?
Yeah, haven't you heard in certain Muslim countries, they call people, "You're my shoe," which is it's a big put down, right? So a shoe hat would be really a negative thing, I think.
Well, that's what makes it pop even more. It's so risque.
Yeah.
You're getting outside the lines of society.
So talk real quick.
It's so weird.
Because I've always said this, like the shoe hat people go, "Oh, that's ridiculous," but like fashion in general is ridiculous.
Is ridiculous.
And the reason why I
right.
say that is I sometimes I'll have like something on TV while I'm going to bed, and when I wake up, it will be playing. It's usually YouTube, and it'll just roll into the next thing.
Hopefully not the movie Brazil.
No. I had YouTube on. I can't remember what I went to sleep watching, but when I woke up, it was a live streaming of a fashion show that happened earlier this year.
Oh man,
called
really?
The Black Tape Project, and it was literally
God.
a fashion show where all the women were wearing tape clothing. Mainly bikinis.
Creations tape. Huh?
And yeah, everything was. That's why it's called a black tape. And I just was like, when are you ever going to wear? You're never going to. What is this for? Like, you're never going to. No one's buying that. No one's wearing that. This is all just for this show, and then it all gets thrown into a garbage can. And like, fashion makes no sense.
Well, this is we don't. I don't know if we have time for this sidebar, but they're fulfilling a contractual obligation with the government of France when they do that. Because France owns the rights to if you're a fashion house, to call yourself haute couture, you have to put on once a year a fashion show. And if you don't,
really?
you lose the title haute couture. And that's a huge
fashion
deal.
Show have actual clothing in it.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta put out something.
Yeah, but when
you
you're in a
and if
hurry,
you're gonna
tape
do
is
it,
the only
and
thing
you
you got.
Yeah, you gotta. I mean, it's an art.
You gotta
show,
rest this
so,
one.
Yeah, it's gotta be weird, and you gotta do something fancy and strange, so that way you get in all the actors and actresses and make it a big production. But that's why that's why fashion shows are so strange.
Yeah,
it's because they have to do it, and they're just like, well, then let's come up with something crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Another side note: Jim Broadbent is her surgeon, and he is Professor Slugworth from Harry Potter series. Slughorn, right? Slughorn? Yeah, Slughorn.
We got Northern Lion over here with all the names and stuff. If I die, you got a new co-host, Donna.
Yeah.
Someone who knows all that.
Yeah. If you die, we don't want you to die, Robert. Come on.
So Sam,
it's gonna happen. It's just the way it goes. Hopefully, in a nuclear accident.
Listen to Fallout.
Yeah,
it's episodes 5 and 6 next time.
That's right. I want to be a ghoul.
Then you won't have to worry about dying.
That's right. So they go to dinner.
Yep.
He's being set up with Shirley.
Yep.
Shelly. Sorry,
Yeah.
Shelly.
Sally. Okay.
Shelly's just doing her best.
Yeah.
I like the Shelly character in here. He doesn't want to be set up with her. She doesn't want to be set up with her.
No, they don't want to.
She's going along with her mom. I gotta say, this scene is what made me be like, I don't want to live in this world. Not all the explosions and bureaucracy, the having to pay for being arrested. If this is food in this world, this weird slop, I don't care what it tastes like. If this is food, I'm out. I am 100% out. I'll deal with your bureaucracy. I'll deal with random arrestment, the government surveillance, the propaganda. I'll deal with all of that. But if this is food, I'm out.
I love the detail of them having the little postcard with the picture of what the food should look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught this, and this is something I caught only on this recent viewing, is they did numbers, which is what everyone does at fast food places now.
Yeah.
I'll take a number 5. I'll take a number 9.
Now,
when this movie was made, there was no numbers. There was no numbers on the menu at fast food places.
Really? Because McDonald's had been out for quite some time. Because that was like
there were no
1977.
numbers in 85.
Even early
were
McDonald's,
no numbers.
They didn't do numbers because I've seen
interesting
little documentaries about the start of
McDonald's. No numbers. That
you would
probably
just walk
came
up and say,
along in the early 90s.
There was a lot less on the menu back then, Robert.
Right. You get a quarter pounder with cheese. You get a hamburger. Yeah. It wasn't the same.
Burger and you're done.
So there's a terrorist attack.
0 to 100 again, man.
Everybody ignores it. I love it. I mean, it's not being ignored by the staff. But everybody just keeps eating and having their different conversation. Yeah.
And I really love that the staff brings out a divider to block off the part of the room that's on fire. Yeah, don't worry about that. We'll just put this divider up. Enjoy your slop food.
Yeah, exactly. But again, that's another set the tone for this dystopia, is the fact that they're so accustomed to this happening that they have solutions. And they don't even care. It's
So
it's what happens.
I think this is a good spot for me to bring up this thought that I started having later in the movie. Is while watching this movie, I had so many questions about what is this movie trying to be. And one thing is, I was like, is this movie meant to be a parody of other dystopian movies? And then the other thing that I started wondering is, or not wondering, but I realized is like, where other movies you have your everyman, like Sam, but usually A, they have redeeming qualities, and B, they strive to be the hero. Where I'm like, no, Sam is that, except he doesn't have redeeming qualities, and he's not like, even though in a way he kind of does start the process of taking down this bureaucracy, it's not ever because it's what he wants to do. He's just pursuing his goal of this woman, and it keeps putting him in the path of taking down the bureaucracy. So it's like, you can't really even root for Sam because like he's not even really the good guy here. He just happens to be the dude who's there.
He's not even trying to take down the bureaucracy at
that's
any
what
point.
I'm saying.
He's just taking advantage of his position. He's a monster till the end of this movie.
Yeah,
he is the same as everybody else.
Exactly.
Like
this scene shows like he, just like everybody else, a bomb goes off, people are on fire, and he keeps eating because he's just like everybody else. He's like, oh, that's a Tuesday.
Not my. Sounds like someone else's problem.
Yep.
He's just coming at it from a different perspective. Because he's the protagonist. We're watching it, and he has this dream of this this life beyond all of this with a woman, and he happens to see the woman that looks like the woman in his dream. So.
And that's when we get.
She's in trouble.
That's when we get to our next dream sequence. He's flying. He's having the dream that he had at the beginning of the movie. But then all the walls are coming up to block him from getting to her.
Yep. And I literally wrote at this part. I wrote, "What the hell is this movie?"
But he wakes up in a sweat because his thermostat is broken in the middle of the night.
I love that you can call a emergency for
Table real quick here, just get it done. But I'm not going to note that in the ticket, okay? Because I don't want them to know I encroached on their territory. They're like, "Why did you use it?" They find out later I used a blue cable instead of a yellow one.
Right. They're like, "Hey, this is not
too long.
Appropriate. This isn't a code. We have a book, and in the book it says." I think that this is the interesting thing with him is that he that this is a thing, right? So you're amazing. You're like, why would you do this heating and cooling stuff on pain of death? But he does because that's what society has gotten to, where the point where the heating and cooling guy can be a hero because you cannot get anything done.
He may not be the hero, but he's the hero you need.
That's right.
Eventually, Central Services does show up.
Yep.
And I love their uniforms. I want to wear this for Halloween. I want to get this with the big giant Bill hat and the red Central Services logo. Like, could you imagine walking into a party like that and just wait to find your compatriot that knows what you're wearing? And it's just like, I'm like, okay, I can talk to you for the evening. Someone's got to have this in a closet somewhere. The
Oh,
hat
sure.
and the
Oh,
uniform for
100%.
sure. Yeah.
I mean, might be, it might be up on an auction site if, with Bob Hoskins being dead. So family member might be auctioning it.
Oh, there we go. But I
He
love
kept
the
it, yeah, he
way
kept
that
it.
he gets them to go away by assaulting them with paperwork.
Yep.
Yes,
Right, yeah.
specifically,
Fight bureaucracy with bureaucracy.
specifically the
That's right.
27B/6 document.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
So yeah, they get him out of there, or he gets him out of there. Tuttle fixes or bypasses his AC, which I very much was like, I would ask what exactly him bypassing does, because I'm not sure I feel secure in this. And also, but one thing he does ask Tuttle, I'm like, you don't ask the guy who broke into your house with a gun, hey, are you by chance the Tuttle who's wanted by my bureaucratic organization?
Right,
I was like,
exactly.
what are you doing? But Tuttle actually takes it fairly
Archibald
well.
Tuttle. Yeah.
And tells him like, yeah, that's me, but we're in this together. And then he just once again repels off the back patio.
Off the
Like, I'm just
balcony,
like,
yeah.
who
Mhm.
are you?
Batman,
You're
man.
breaking into people's houses,
Exactly, he's
holding
Batman,
them at gunpoint.
exactly.
You're hiding out and stuff, and then you're rappelling off the side of buildings. I'm just like, who is this man?
But we get the next scene. He's at work, and his
Oh,
boss.
wait, before you move on to that,
yes.
so on the rappelling of that, is there anything that you noticed on that rappelling that was interesting?
That he went into the window of an opposite building,
I didn't notice.
and then it was a very
that
steep
happened.
angle.
I
but-
got nothing.
but no,
But
it sounds
there,
like you got
that
something
was
on it.
all miniature.
Oh.
So there's no digital effects in this movie because there's no digital effects at this time.
I just assumed Robert De
And
Niro
so-
repelled down a building.
No, it was miniature. So yeah, it was a miniature, which I find fascinating looking back because I wanted to mention this because I wanted to see if you guys noticed it, and you didn't. It didn't strike you right away. I mean, you probably thought, well, you're in the movie a little bit here, but yeah, it's not quite the best today, but at the time it was pretty darn
So
good.
Yeah.
I
to have
watched
that happen.
a Blu-ray redone version of it, and I did not notice that there. I definitely noticed that it was miniature when they did like some of the explosive crash scene stuff towards
Right.
the end. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I thought that was interesting that they kind of got away with it.
I mean, 1985. I mean, you could. They probably
Yeah.
saw that and didn't even think about it.
Yeah. Plus,
Right,
I
yeah.
really gotta say, at least in my defense, this movie is so off the wall, and there's so much going on, and you're just trying to figure out what the hell is going on. If it's your first watch,
Yeah, you're distracted by
that
all the visuals and angles.
There's no
yeah.
way I'm gonna notice this miniature because I'm still figuring out why is there a rogue heating engineer sneaking around at night
Right.
holding people at gunpoint. I don't have time to notice the miniature because I'm still trying to figure out what else going on in this world. But we pick back up with Sam back at work talking to his boss, and this is where we get, like we already hinted at, Buttle was arrested instead of Tuttle. Buttle died during the interrogation.
Yeah.
And now they just, because they arrested the wrong man, they're like, well, we charged them for being arrested. We got to get the money back. And I love that this is a conversation. Like, this is something you talk about. It's like, well, the man's dead. How do we? And like the big issue is because he's dead, they can't put it in his bank account, and his wife doesn't have a
Right,
bank account.
right.
So what do we
His
do?
bank
Yeah.
account.
And
And they
Ian
can't
Holm,
keep it. They got to get rid of it. They got to
Yeah.
pass it along in the system. Yeah.
Yeah, Ian Holm's character and dialogue and mannerisms are so masterfully written and acted in this scene where like
Mhm.
he quote accidentally hits his hand on the desk,
Yeah.
his writing hand.
Yeah.
So that way
Right.
he isn't the one that can sign the paperwork. He has to
Yep.
get
I thought
he
that.
he has to
I
get his
noticed
underling to
that.
forge the signature. Like everybody's hot potatoing this whole thing
Mhm.
across
Yeah.
all the levels of bureaucracy.
What I
They're
love
all
also
scared.
is that they I thought this was gonna like be a big plot point. The whole Sam forged and that's gonna come back to bite him. And
I
like,
mean, it does a
Mm.
little bit as a minor.
Little bit.
very
among all the
minor.
other things that he gets
It's very
sentenced
much
for, yeah.
later and minor. And it's the least of his concerns at this point.
Right.
So I thought this was going to be a big plot point. It's like, oh no, this was just more of the showing the bureaucratical nature of this world.
Right.
It was just
Well,
like,
that and it showed the everybody's scared of it, right? So
Yeah.
they're all scared of.
There are no major plot
everybody's on
points.
edge.
There's all just tiny
Yeah.
parts of the bureaucracy.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
It really is all to me. It's reinforcing the same thing over and
Yeah,
over again.
absolutely. beating us on the head with it almost.
almost, yeah.
But they decide they're gonna.
Entertainingly
Oh yes,
doing
absolutely.
so. Yeah.
They decide that they're gonna take. He's gonna take the check to the wife to get her to sign for it,
and
then they'll
have
be
her
done
cast
with
it
it.
at a
Yeah.
store.
And then he drives.
Yeah.
These cars are still around. I see these cars in
It's a
Seattle sometimes.
Messerschmitt. That's a Messerschmitt car.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would love one. Why didn't this take off?
3-wheel cars have a lot of issues with balance.
Well, you can make a 4-wheel. Why didn't tiny cars like this take off? I guess they're called motorcycles, but you know,
Actually,
scooters.
I
or
don't say
something.
right now, Robert.
Cycle car, I think is what it's called. Yeah.
I was say in tiny cars have taken off actually in England and Japan or China.
Okay.
And then no, China both have a lot. Like the tiny car market is
of them,
huge.
yeah.
Interesting.
Like there's a lot of single person cars in England that you can actually park like 3 or 4 of them in the standard
In a parking spot.
in
Nice.
a standard like parallel parking spot, and it's just like
I would love one of those for my tiny commute to and from
The
work.
you could
that was a
definitely do it.
post-war. That was a post-war German car because they couldn't really make anything. So the
interesting.
Messerschmitt, yeah,
Huh.
that's a German car,
I bet they sell
and
for
it
a
even
lot
had that
these
real
days.
the glass that flips up. That is exactly that car. They just put a couple of things on it. If you look up a Messerschmitt cycle car, it looks just like that. They glued a few more things on it. That's all.
Awesome. I want a time machine like
Yeah.
that, the DeLorean. I want the Messerschmitt time travel machine. It can't get up to 88 miles an hour.
You're never going back in time because you can't hit the speed.
Downhill with a swift breeze.
Yeah.
So when he gets to the apartment, to the door, there's a guy in the hallway smoking, like the worst spy in the hit government spy. You know, he's even like just standing there when they're outside. That is Terry Gilliam.
Yep.
That is his
Oh,
minor.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
I only
But
knew
and
that 'cause I
that
looked it up.
echoes, East Germany and everything in the 60s and so forth. So yeah, with the Stasi stuff.
Oh, yeah,
and,
yeah, for sure.
1984 and whatnot. Yeah.
So yeah, he tries to get the wife to sign this check. I don't see why he thought this was gonna work.
But I really do love that while he's trying to get this wife to sign his check, he makes sure to clarify, oh, no, it's not our department that kidnapped and
Yeah.
killed your husband.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
He makes sure to
In
point
case
that
you're
out.
talking.
We didn't kidnap and kill him. I'm
No,
just
you
going to get
need
you
to
sign
catch
this
her
check.
right when she wakes up and just knocking on the door and just be like, sign this, and then walk away.
Yeah.
You don't try to
Right,
explain
yeah.
anything. You don't go in. You just be like, you need to sign this, and then you're good to go. But while he gets pushed to the ground, a mirror breaks, and through the mirror he sees the face of the woman of his dreams.
Yes.
Literally the woman of his dreams.
Yes. And this is where things start to really go off the rails. Literally.
Because there's still a hole in the floor.
Yeah. They never
the ceiling
finished fixing
floor. They
that.
never really. They again never got the metric one apparently.
They couldn't at least leave the little fire pole thing so they could move between the two floors that they need.
No, that's
The kids would
that's
enjoy
government
that.
equipment,
Yeah.
Robert. They're not
Yeah.
gonna leave government equipment behind. But
Wait,
yeah.
we
Little's
skipped-
Kid, yeah.
We skipped another favorite little tidbit of the movie for me is the kids are like practicing being the Gestapo.
Yeah.
Like they're like
Outside.
one of the kids like in the fake bag and he's like, "Come on, interrogate me,
Yeah.
guys."
They,
Like,
they all get
Mhm,
sidetracked
yeah.
by something. It's like, oh, you got to come back and interrogate me.
they get sidetracked by setting the dude's car
Yes.
on
On
fire.
fire.
Yes.
Like-
Yeah. hmm
I'm like, you don't park your
Yeah.
car in this neighborhood. Like, is it the wheels that he gets out there? The car's on fire. The wheels are up on blocks. Like,
Yeah.
it's just.
So Sam decides that he sees Jill and he wants to, or doesn't know sees Jill right now, but he wants to go after her. Literally abandons his whole mission here.
Yep.
Heads outside, trying to track her down. Basically decides, or when he can't track her down, basically decides he's gonna change everything about his life. In a sense, with taking a promotion just to get to her. And this is where I first wrote, I'm like, pretty sure Sam has mental issues.
Oh, absolutely,
I was
yeah.
like, this is when I first like, yeah, this man is.
He has been mentally destroyed by this society.
yes,
for
yes.
sure.
By the society, yeah, sure.
And I love that the car wasn't his car. It was a
Yeah.
company car.
It
And
was
I
a
love how
company
that's
car,
just
yeah.
that's just scattered in throughout the whole movie. It's
Mhm.
like, hey, we need you to fill out the paperwork on the missing vehicle.
Yeah.
Right.
And that even comes up
yeah.
into like his trial at the end. Like
So he
no
returns
no
home.
ownership, so people don't own anything. That's the
Yeah.
future of society.
Well, I
right?
mean, and there's
So-
like, the central services, like they come in and they're like, hey,
Yeah.
we've requisitioned your
Yeah,
apartment. Like,
exactly.
Uh-huh.
He comes home to Central Services in his place. Essentially, they have broken apart his whole apartment, freaking
Right.
duct and stuff all over the place, and they found the bypass, and so they know it didn't just fix itself, and they're very mad at Sam, and they just leave his apartment in that state. They're just like, and I'm out.
Yep.
I love that I feel like this has, analogs to like current times with like the surveillance state and stuff like that, where he completely abuses his power. He starts looking her up in his system.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
So-
and the whole, he gets like stopgapped, and that's the whole reason he's like, I'm going to take the promotion, so that way I can get a higher clearance level and really get more information.
So I
about
can
her.
stock this. Like I said, this man is unhinged, because I'm like, literally, you've been having a random dream about a random girl. You happen to find someone who looks like her. You have not spoken to her yet. You have know nothing about her, and he literally makes it his life goal to find this woman and meet her. And I'm just like, you are like
insane person.
Yeah, this is lunacy. You would be on like Dateline, like a Dateline news story if someone found out what you were doing and be like, the strange man.
Oh no, this is going to be an 8-part true crime podcast for sure.
The
delusional
funny
man of
thing-
Sam Lowry.
Yeah.
Delusional mind of Sam Lowry for sure.
But the funny thing is the surroundings are even so much crazier that he seems sane. And oddly enough, Tuttle seems the most sane,
Unless
even
none
though
of
he's
it's
doing
none of
something
it's
that's totally
the whole
insane.
real world is the dream for him. That's the none of it actually happened.
I mean,
Speaking of dreams, we get another brief dream sequence.
where he looks like Christopher Lloyd, in my opinion. with that hair, I was like, they look similar.
The flight, yeah.
He's flying around, and she's being dragged away in a floating cage.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the juxtaposition because he wakes up in a literal cage. Like, that's the car, the subway
Yeah.
car is the same cage that she's being carried in because he's in the cage.
Right.
Like, it's I mean, I like the dream sequences. I love how they juxtapose with the outside world. If they could be cut out, in my opinion. But anyway,
It's like, I love the dream
But
they
yeah,
could be
you love them,
removed.
but you can cut them out. But for time, we got to cut these for time. That's a whole movie in and of itself. The editing of Brazil would be a whole dystopian.
I think there is a
thing.
documentary about bringing Brazil over to the U.S. and all the fighting that Terry Gilliam had to do with the editing and things like that.
Interesting.
Story worth watching. Yeah.
So, anyways, as Robert, you already said, Sam tried using his clearance to find Jill. He can't, so he finds out that if he was part of information retrieval, he'd have access, and so he decides he's gonna go get the promotion through his mom. Goes to her party to meet the guy who runs everything.
By the way, the annoying singing telegram. To hell with all of that.
Though I do like that he starts singing, and then she's like, "You don't have to sing." I'm like, "Oh, thank God." I was like, "Thank God you don't have to
I also
sing."
like that she shows up an hour after the party has started.
Right, exactly.
But anyways, so Sam goes to the party. We have another scene with him and Shirley, where Shirley, like we already hinted at, lets Sam know. I was like, "Oh, don't worry, I don't like you either," which is just fantastic. But then Sam tracks down the man. I did not write down his name.
Hawthorne?
Hawthorne.
Yeah.
Who's in a wheelchair and asks Sam for a favor, and that favor is holding him up so he can use the urinal.
Right, yeah.
There's anything
But
you got to do to get to the top.
I know, I was about to say, but hey,
Yeah,
this is a
anything to
great
get to the
way.
top,
You do a
exactly.
favor, this favor, hopefully
Mr.
he let you in.
Wasn't that Mr. Helpman? Helpman?
Oh, Helpman.
Helpman,
Yes,
sorry.
yes.
Think of that name for a minute.
Yeah,
Yep.
it works.
Helpman.
Mr.
Yeah.
A little
speaking of
too
which,
on the nose for
Mr.
Terry
Helpman
Gilliam, in my opinion. But
wants to
Yeah.
help Sam and also thinks Sam should see a doctor. And
Mm.
I'm going to put this here now. I was going to wait till then, but I want to say this now. I believe from this point forward, everything else is Sam's delusion.
no, I don't think we're quite there yet,
No, not quite. I
in
don't
my
think we're
opinion.
quite
But
there.
I respect your opinion
Yeah.
because there's
well,
many places where the delusion could start.
Well, the reason why I believe that is Sam has never met Jill. And
Correct. He's only seen her.
he's only seen her. he starts having interactions with her, and her interactions are very much what you expect of this man's insane. Why is he with me? But slowly, she starts coming around, which makes no sense. Also, there's multiple times where C shows up in places that's like, how does she know that he's at his apartment? Same with Tuttle, and that's where I'm like, but what to make sense with the ending, which I won't give it away. How else would he have gotten Mitch Tobin wants him to see a doctor. And I'm like, and he wants to help Sam, and he says he will help Sam. We see in the movie that him helping him is getting the job, but I don't think he actually ever got the job. I think he helped Sam to the doctor.
Gotcha.
And that's why I think this is where the delusion takes over. And from this point forward, anything, but whether it's the dream world or the real world, it's all in Sam's head.
Yeah. But he starts his new job at the information retrieval. And I love when he goes in and they're just like, oh, we know everything. We don't need to see your ID, whatever. This is information retrieval. Everything's perfect. And the elevator's broken.
Yes.
Dangerously broken. Like, gonna cut you in half broken.
Yeah.
Like,
I really like when Sam gets into his office and he's trying to get his desk.
Office,
and then that's when you just go like, oh no, you share your desk with the guy in the office next to you.
Right.
They're literally
through the
fighting
wall.
over the desk. Through the wall.
I love the guy that works next to him who's just completely inept. Just doesn't know what he's doing.
I put down that this guy, his coworker, may be the only person I find creepier than Sam in this movie. Because I'm like, this dude is creepy.
Oh yeah, no, as soon as he's like, I need to use your computer to look somebody up, he's like, we're looking up a girl.
He's like, we're looking up a girl?
Yeah.
You know I'm on top of this.
He made a second carbon copy for himself.
Yeah.
You just know it.
I said, this is the only person in the movie I'm like, no, this guy's creepier. This is the creepier guy.
I want this yes-no decision maker toy. I want it on my desk at work as like a siren's call to other people that are in the know. I want them to see that and be like, you're a fan of Brazil, we can be friends, kind of thing. Unfortunately, that is not a product that exists. It was made specifically for this movie at a cost of $2,000.
Wow.
There is someone out there who is selling 3D printed versions of it that they made that are not of high quality. I'm like, how much would I spend to get somebody to mill this out for me? You know, like
I was just say it's all metal. I think
it's just metal pieces,
metal,
pressed together. It's not a extremely complex contraption. I'm just like, I could probably get somebody to make this for me for like $1,000, $500 maybe.
Oh, easily, probably less than that. If you had somebody who, actually, you could, metal 3D printing probably could do it.
I don't know how metal.
If you somebody
I feel like that would cost more though, honestly.
If they had it, it would probably not cost as much.
Yeah.
Just individual pieces and snap them together or something.
Right. Snap them together. Yeah.
I'm sure I could go to like some Alibaba website or something and be like, make me one. Like they would do it.
That's true. They'll be like, hey, do you want 1,000?
Yeah, they want 10,000. Yeah. I'm like, no. You know, just mock me up
just one.
An example and we'll go from there.
All right. So Sam, in his quest to stalk the girl he's only seen once, after using the creepy coworker's computer, he realizes he needs some more information, and so he heads up to see his good friend Jack.
Can we back up for a second?
Oh.
He has while he's waiting for the guy to print out the paperwork, he has a quick dream.
Oh yeah.
I do not understand for the life of me what was meant by the hand brick monster.
I think it's just more of the same.
Okay.
It's just
like all the other dream sequences seem to like have very specific ideas that it was trying to convey, and I just didn't understand the point of the brick monster.
It looked cool.
It did look cool. It looked very Jim Henson. You know, very never-ending story.
Cool, yeah, exactly.
But it just made no sense to me whatsoever.
I think it that was his attempt to cover where he cut the Kim Greist out. No, I don't know, but I mean, I just think it's just more of the same. You know, where
we took him so serious, he was making a joke.
I mean, he's just dropping so much knowledge throughout this. It's hard to know when he's just saying something, when he's got some facts to back it up.
It was just odd and out. Anyway, we can move on. Yes, he goes upstairs,
but it looked great
to the reference office. Yeah.
I thought,
I
you were-
thought
go
you were
ahead.
gonna pick it up, Donnell.
I thought you were going to
Right,
continue from
right,
there. It's
right.
like, and what did he do next, Robert?
Yeah, so I love this. Again, I don't think we get the Beetlejuice like hell scene without this lady. This scene of this,
Oh,
this
right.
lady like transcribing. I love that she's just
Yeah.
nonchalantly transcribing the horror sounds
Yes.
of the torture chamber.
Yes. I actually rewatched this scene because the first time I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on, and I was like, wait, oh, she's listening to someone being tortured and just typing
Right.
it out, just laying it out for everybody. And I was like, well, this is disturbing. That's also when I first started to understand. I mean, I knew that they had somehow got the guy killed, but first started to really understand what information retrieval does.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, that kind of information retrieval.
Yeah.
Well, it's those buzzwords that they keep
Yeah.
changing to make them sound more humane, even though
Mhm.
they're inhumane, right?
Yeah.
So information
Jack
retrieval.
is a very twisted character.
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
you
I
watch
know. I
this.
love. He's got his daughter in the office, but he just
Mhm.
walks in with a bloody smock on.
Yeah.
Just
Uh-huh.
ridiculous.
I
But
was-
I love that he's like, look, Buttle's death was not my fault. There was a
Mhm.
clerical error by another group. If I had known about his heart condition, that wouldn't have been. We would have taken
Right.
precautions.
Yeah. I
Like,
would
Yeah. He's like, that's
I
not
would
on
have gone
me.
easy on him. Yeah.
Just more the bureaucracy being like, well, it wasn't our department that made that error, it was that department. And it's just like, yeah.
but I love as soon as like he shows the picture of the lady to Jack. Jack's like, oh, what do you know about this? Like
Mhm.
it's all
Mhm.
wrapped. This is really great. This is when it all starts getting wrapped up in a in a bow, and it's like, okay, all the pieces are connected. She's the reason the file was locked is because she's a suspect because she's making waves about Buttle, and nobody wants to
Yeah.
deal with Buttle. They just want it to go away.
Mhm.
Yeah, just fantastic
Yeah,
scene.
she's gonna get them all in trouble, so they have to silence her,
Yep.
right? So, yeah.
mean, yeah,
but this is Michael Palin. You gotta say who Jack Lint is. It's Michael Palin. He's a Python. He's the good-looking Python. as it were.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know he was a good-looking one, or you didn't know he was a Python?
That one, the second part.
Oh, okay.
So Sam talks Jack into getting the file because he convinces Jack like, oh, we'll keep this even more hush.
Right.
I'll
I'm
handle
gonna
this.
take care of this for
We
you,
won't
Jack.
won't
Yeah.
bring her into the building, all that sort of stuff. And Jack, believes him for some reason. Sam heads out to find her, and it turns out, hey, she's in the building.
Yeah,
He's right there.
She's in
Right
she's
there.
in the lizard's den.
Yeah.
Like, but he gets screwed by the elevator,
Yes.
and the
Right,
elevator
yeah.
doesn't stop where he wants it to. It goes all the way to the bottom, where a couple of guys from Central Services come and put an out of order sign. I wish it had been the same two actors and not two other actors.
Oh.
I wish that they had alluded to there's only two departments
Two
of
Central
works guys,
Yeah.
and then they're just running around trying to keep everything together.
Yeah. Bob Hoskins was not
Yeah.
not available that day, so they had
Yeah,
to
it's such a weird thing that they
reuse
just,
his suit.
Yeah. But they got two people that were like the same height, so that way they could use the same costumes. Yeah.
There was I just saw a meme on this. It's like if you're gonna have two people that are funny, you have to have a banana and a banana and a ball, right? So one person is a banana and an orange.
Yeah.
That's
So one person
interesting.
has to be tall and skinny, person has to be short and squat. That goes all the way back to like Laurel and
Oh
Hardy.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's an
Yeah.
old
Mhm.
trope for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like,
it
I mean,
works.
Yeah, even like Lucy, like Fred and
right.
yeah.
Fred and Ricky and
Yeah.
Lucy and Ethel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Been going on forever.
Forever.
I like that he tries to ride up a different elevator, but that's like the executive elevator. And when he's getting stopped by the guy, he's like, "Well, you're gonna have to fill out now. We're gonna have to fill out a form." It's
Right, having to fill out
just
a
as we've already
form.
talked about, just the bureaucracy is just so heavy in this world.
Oh, I love when
heavy.
he's like, "Okay, I need to see your ID," and he goes for it, and he's like, "This isn't my suit," and I'm like, "That's the wrong thing to say."
Right.
That's like when you get pulled over a cop, and you're like, "This isn't my car." I'm like, "Well, you're gonna
Well,
be here for a while, sir."
Yeah.
He runs from the cops,
then
and they just start
they
blasting
shoot at
at
him.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
they
the world
shoot
we
at
live
him.
in. But he
And
does.
they're very Nazi-esque, these guys. These
Oh,
guys
yeah.
are very Nazi.
They're just itching to shoot somebody, man.
Yeah.
I
all the
can't
time.
imagine the paperwork involved in shooting someone in this
No,
world.
it's less apparently because that's how they do it. There's less paperwork if you
Like,
shoot
you
him.
want to
There's more
arrest this
paperwork if
guy?
you
You don't. We got one sheet and one carbon copy for a death. We're gonna have a mountain of paperwork for an arrest.
Exactly. Think of Buttle. What happened to Buttle? They just would have killed him. It would have been there would have been no
way
movie.
better.
Yep.
Yep. I mean, yeah, you don't have to worry about giving her a refund check for kidnapping her
Right,
husband.
no
if you don't get
refund.
Kim back.
Yeah, there
her
would have been no
husband.
charge for the intake.
Yeah.
Nope.
Absolutely.
Would have been
Yeah.
simpler.
Mhm.
But he manages to get back up to where Jill is, and she's surrounded by the police who are about to make their apprehension. But he is able to use his credentials to convince everybody that he can take her. And I feel like this is where I'm just like, dude, you gotta start with why she's in danger, not with what's going on in your delusional mind. But he just tries to convince her that, you know, I love you. And
Dude, you talk about this movie going from 0 to 100 real fast.
Yeah.
This goes from 0 to 10,000,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
right on this second. He jumps in the
Yes.
truck, and he's all up in her face. Like,
Yeah.
I've been dreaming
I've been
about
dreaming
you. I'm
about
in love
you.
with
I'm
you.
in love with you.
Mhm.
And
It's ridiculous.
I do love her response because,
Yeah.
like I said, it's 100% how she's like, this man's crazy. This man is out of his mind. I like that she goes along with his delusion a little bit, just long enough to kick him out the door.
Take him out.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
this
then-
is not her first rodeo with a random stranger jumping into her
Random,
truck.
strange stalker psycho man.
Mhm.
I want to know how Sam manages to stay on that truck because he fell backwards out the
Yep.
door and then somehow he was able to be on the back. But this also like his crazy laugh, like this is where you really see how insane he is because the crazy laughter as like they're getting away because eventually they're being chased by IR. I wrote down IR, but information retrieval and
First retrieval, yeah.
and like he at one point like gets one of their cars like blown up and he's all like, woo! And I'm like, dude, you have
Yeah,
lost
woo.
it. And the fact that she keeps going with him in her car, I'd be like, I'm willing to risk the information retrieval because this man is more dangerous. This man is out of his mind. But they
So I love that he finally, or she finally accepts to let him in the truck. And then she just
Mhm.
goes to work.
Yep.
Her day job.
Yep. Which is
Like-
another reason why it's like, Sam, you really need to explain to her, besides your, because he knows also her life is in danger. He knows her life is in
Mhm.
danger, and he knows he has a delusional fantasy of his that they're in love. And I'm like, let's focus on the life in danger part. Let's focus on that, not your insane delusion. But no, she just goes to work, which is picking up packages
That
and-
are somehow pulled out of a
Nope.
furnace.
yeah.
So I think that she's picking up the concrete house,
Yeah.
but the package is something that's totally separate.
Yep.
I don't think that that's necessarily that's the mystery, right? The
Yeah.
MacGuffin
Yeah. For a
Yeah.
little bit.
For a
is
little
the
bit.
package.
There's a lot
For
of
a little
MacGuffins
bit.
in this. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of
That's
MacGuffins, but yeah.
An iconic scene for me is them driving through the highway that's got all the billboards.
It's all billboards.
Hiding this just desolate wasteland outside.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and
Yeah.
while they were doing that, they're talking about the terrorists. And one thing that C says to Sam is like, "Have you ever seen a terrorist?" And he's like, "Well, no." Which I'm like, good point, but also on the other side of the coin, like stuff does keep blowing up. Like I'm like, while you do have a point that like there aren't terrorists. Like we have seen already 3 different random explosions, and there's 3
Yeah,
more that
but-
happen before this movie ends. It could be the
I
government.
think you pointed out though what could be. It doesn't have to be terrorists. It could
Yeah.
just people who've had enough.
Yeah.
True.
I think it's
It-
the
They're
government.
not
That's what I'm
organized.
saying.
in
I
any
was
way.
like,
I
I
think
think
it's all
it might
part
be
of the control.
government.
Yeah.
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 I feel like it partly might be the government.
You got to have
That's what I
something
thought.
to be afraid of. It's a yeah.
Or it may be false flag, right? So
Mhm.
So they roll up on a checkpoint, and she's just like, I do with this all the time. He's like, no, we can't have this.
Yeah.
So he rams the checkpoint,
That's in the where he laughs insanely afterwards.
gets into it. Yeah, he goes around the bend at this point.
Mhm.
Yeah, it blows through the checkpoint, gets in a police chase scene,
Yeah.
drops the house
Yeah. Makes
into
her
the middle
lose
of the
her,
road.
her-
right.
I'm like,
Mhm.
he is literally ruining this woman's
Yeah.
life because he dreams about her.
I mean, her life is already ruined. She just doesn't
True,
quite know
Right.
it
She
yet.
She
doesn't
just
know
doesn't
it's
quite
ruined.
know it yet.
She doesn't
But,
know she's a wanted
He's
person.
ruining
Yeah.
it a little bit faster.
Yeah.
He's trying to help Mrs. Buttle
Yeah.
still.
And this is when he straight up murders people,
Mm-hmm.
sets cops on fire,
Yep. laughing while doing it.
Yeah, just he's so excited.
And
he's
she
like
keeps
he's letting
going
loose.
along with him, and that's why I think this is not real. This is in his delusional mind. But there's a part. So basically, he does wonder, because he did get this box, if maybe C is a terrorist. But he says at one point, he's like, well, if I want you to trust me, I have to trust you. But then a little bit later, when she makes it clear that she doesn't trust him, it's like, well, if you don't trust me, I don't trust you. What's in the parcel? I'm like, I'm going to stop you right there, Sam. That logic doesn't work out, because she didn't thrust herself into your life, cause a bunch of chaos, and demand that she trust you that you're in love with her. So she doesn't have to earn your trust. You have the uphill battle, my friend. I was like, that is not an equivalent exchange of trust.
And for the
society they've got, though, that's the constant struggle, right? So the society that they're showing us so far, that's it. That's the struggle. You don't trust anybody.
And for the idle watcher of this movie, perhaps someone who went to go see it at the theater in 1985, they might be thinking, surely this is coming to a climax soon. No, halfway point of this movie is where we're at.
Yes.
And with that, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll finish up the other. All right, and we're back. We just had this big chase scene, cops burning, everything. What should we do? Let's go to a department store.
Yes.
Makes perfect sense to me.
100%.
Well, it's Christmas time.
Yeah. The Consumers for Christ are about.
Oh, yeah, the Consumers for Christ. I'm glad you caught that. I'm like, that's hilarious, isn't it?
Great.
Did you hear the little girl? Did you hear what she said she wanted for Christmas when they walked past
I did
her?
not. What did she say?
I want a credit card.
Yeah.
I love when he gets arrested later, and they're like, "You don't want to mess up your credit rating. Don't struggle."
I'm pretty sure he's about to be killed, but sure, credit rating.
But yeah, they go to this department store. There's a terrorist attack because it's happening everywhere. He thinks that she did it.
Yeah.
But it turns out that what she really had was a bribe, which is another one of those toys, those desk toys that everyone's been giving out.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, does she not know that Buttle is dead? Who's she bribing for what?
I don't know. Was C the one bribe? I mean, since C got the package, I thought she was like...
She was getting a bribe?
No, I thought she was delivering a bribe for somebody else. Like, I thought somebody else was like, here,
I was thinking
you take this to them to bribe them.
She's just the courier.
Gotcha.
Right.
She's
I have the ability to drive out of the city and back into the city.
Yeah.
And so I'll deal with this package for extra credits or whatever.
Gotcha. So he attacks a cop because he's trying to help people, and then they attack her and all this stuff. And then we the next scene we move into, he's in the paddy wagon, but I don't understand why he's just laying on the floor instead of in one of the bags.
I guess because of his rank.
Yeah.
He's still
got his badge on him or something.
He's still got his badge. Yeah. They realize he's one of them, essentially. But he can't find Jill. And then we get a weird kind of just cut where like it goes from him trying to find Jill to suddenly like he's just
in his office
at work being kind of told off for all the craziness he's been doing.
About the personnel carrier. We need the paperwork on the personnel carrier.
Yeah. And then he just gets to go home, which I feel like after, as Robert said, killing cops, running roadblocks, destroying property, and attacking another cop, being present as a terrorist attack, you would have a lot more questions. And you don't just send the man home. But no, he gets sent home, and this is where we find out that Central Services has commandeered his house. It's theirs now because they have a temporary requisition for it, and he's kicked out onto his balcony where Tuttle just shows up.
And his apartment is no longer sweltering. It's now frozen.
It's now frozen.
Yeah.
Right, it's frozen. Yeah.
And this is where I also started to theorize, I don't think Tuttle's real. I think
There's a question of whether Tuttle's real for sure.
I think Tuttle is
towards
in his
the
head.
end. And by the way,
there's more than one Tuttle. We know from later in the movie. There's more than one Tuttle.
This is true.
Well, actually, earlier in the movie, there's more than one Tuttle. Yeah.
The terrorists are running around blowing stuff up.
Yep.
Tuttle's got the right idea. This is how you cause mayhem. You
Right.
swap the AC and sewer line, which are apparently right next to each other and
Yeah.
easily
Right.
accessible.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a little special tool key that he's using.
I
but
don't
still.
know because their suits start because they're wearing these special suits as they're in his house. The central service
So they
is,
won't freeze.
and their suits start filling up with sewage. And then we off screen. I mean, we see it from outside. It blows up, and
I'm assuming the
Right.
suit just burst.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
doesn't
the
actually,
suit
blew
burst.
up, yeah.
But I'm like, whether you're alive or dead, like this is not the way.
Yeah, you're not having a good day.
Like this is
You're gonna need a
bad.
new uniform.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a lot of paperwork.
a
lot of paperwork,
lot of
yeah.
paperwork, and they're not going to let you change out of your suit until you're done filling it all out.
And-
But this is where,
Yeah, for no reason whatsoever, makes no sense. Jill shows up.
yes, he never told her
Right.
where he lived.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
No.
we're in his delusion now.
This is just bad editing, probably. Like, a lot of stuff was edited out for her character.
I think
would've made
we're in
sense.
I think we're in his delusion. I think this
Entirely
is
possible.
100%
Entirely possible.
Tuttle showing up to help him get his revenge. Jill just, his dream. Because this is also where Jill, like I said, the last time we saw Jill, she was not too happy with him. She was
No.
upset.
She's
Right.
known this man for a couple of hours, and it has been hell on her life.
Yes.
Why does she show up?
Yeah,
to
but
check?
And-
he got away with it, so
And
maybe he's somebody.
when
to
she
know.
shows up, they literally, out of nowhere, almost kiss. And I'm just like, no, this is not really Jill. This is his delusion.
Look, Tuttle's a bro, but he blocked. He blocked
Oh,
him.
yeah. Tuttle did 100%.
She's about to have the
cock-block
climax
this
of a
man.
kiss, and Tuttle's just like,
Just like,
"Hey guys, I'm here still."
I'm rappelling off the roof. Like, he could have just rappelled off the roof and left. But he had to call their attention to, like, hey, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
Yeah. He's like, okay, we can't stay here because my apartment's full of shit.
Yeah.
So
Right,
he
yeah.
takes her to the mom's house, and she's just like, "This is how you live. This is your comfortable life. This is not my comfortable life. Like, what's going on here?" And they,
It's like a hole in the floor.
yeah, yeah, right. But terrible ductwork though. Terrible
Right.
ductwork.
Yeah.
Terrible.
And they start to make out on the couch.
Mhm.
It's like, we think this guy's gonna get everything he ever dreamed of.
Yeah.
Which
Mhm.
he's insane because he's just like, nope, I gotta go.
Yeah.
I got paperwork to fill out.
Well, it's
Mhm.
paperwork to make sure she doesn't
Yeah.
die. Because, he basically realizes the only way to make sure that information retrieval stops chasing her is if she's dead.
Mhm.
So he decides to go back into the office and fill out a bunch of paperwork to basically say she died and
Mhm.
we're all good.
You
And
won't
then
have
he
to look for her anymore.
he goes back and suddenly we find out it's a wig, but still, I'm like, this man it's in his head.
This is definitely scene needed to be in another part of the movie, later in the movie,
Yeah.
when it would have been obvious that it was in his head. Because none of this scene makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
The whole time he's been in the office, like faking her death with paperwork, she's just been preparing for a
Mhm.
night of passion.
Yes.
Putting on a wig for no reason.
With the crazy
At-
man who broke
Yeah.
into or hijacked her truck, rammed roadblocks, killed cops, fought
Yeah.
people.
At what point
Well,
did he have the
threatened
conversation
her
where,
of
like,
being a
You're
terrorist.
the woman from my dreams, but you had long blonde hair.
Yeah.
And
If-
the mom just
if-
happens
if
to have a
you-
long blonde hair wig. I mean, I guess that makes sense.
well, she
I
has all
mean,
kinds of stuff. She's
yeah.
wealthy, so who knows what she's got.
And then we get
The,
we get of an insane movie with a bunch of insane lines. We get the most insanest of lines. Care for a little necrophilia.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
My God.
Well, it's because
But if you compare it to other
there-
80s movies, and you look at the action movies of the time, all of that makes perfect sense.
I will say, in context, I mean, it's still a messed up line, but in context, it's not as messed up because he did just say, I just
I killed
registered you as
Yeah.
dead,
Yeah.
or I killed you. And
I
this
mean,
is
I
like-
get the
deleted.
context.
I
It's
know.
Still just
I
like,
just want to make sure we put the context
it
in
makes
the podcast.
no sense to come at the whole situation, and her line is like, this is not in character for her.
Yeah.
I feel.
Because it's not her. It's his delusion.
I know. I'm with you. I'm with you. Yeah.
But anyway, so they have a night of passion. Everything goes great. Sam wakes up, and we find out the long hair was a wig, which was very helpful because I was like, how did she grow hair in the time? But that's also when information retrieval shows up because they tracked him
Right.
down. And even though
They
he
figured it all out.
he
They're like, "Oh, you
registered her as
killed those
dead."
guys." The paperwork came through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it started getting paperwork started getting flowing real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then our next scene, Sam is in a padded room, and I wrote down, this is the one place that this man deserves to be. Like, everything else I'm going, but this is the one place. No, this makes sense.
Just leave
this
him
is
there.
where Sam belongs, in a padded room, because this man is off his rocker.
But yeah, Santa talking to him.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't help you, son. Yeah. Jill's dead twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, just just one brick right after the other being built on this guy. And yeah, and then they put him in the torture chamber. This is an iconic scene. This is I mean, you've been watching this movie in the theater for the first time in 1985, and this, like, when it gets here, you're just like, I need to leave. This is too much.
Right.
This has gone out overboard. I can't stand it anymore. But that's when a guy in a baby mask walks in.
Yeah.
The baby mask that he's been seeing in some of his dreams, and it turns out that it's Jack.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which we knew because he's the torturer guy.
He's the torturer guy. And Jack is still 100%. I mean, like I said, this is all bureaucratical. He's still he's like, you know how much trouble you got in me with taking that file and stuff.
Trouble, yeah.
Like, he pulls the microphone away because he doesn't want to know that they're associated. I'm just like, yeah, this is
right.
Jack is 100% a cog in this machine, and he's driving.
For me, this is when the delusion begins.
This is what they want you to believe.
Yeah,
because that's how when the movie ends. But I just feel like there's too much out of character stuff going on before this for this to be when the delusion begins.
I'm with you 100%. But I love when Jack's
I'm totally against it. I think it all happened into this point, and
I'm okay. Yeah,
you just have to go with the flow. You have to go with the flow on this. Yeah.
But I love that Jack's like, this is just a professional relationship.
Yeah, he wants to make it clear.
I'm just doing the job here, okay?
Don't
if it's my wife in the hot seat tomorrow, it's whatever, you know?
I mean, I guess the one thing we can all agree with is this was 100% is in the delusion because Tuttle shows up.
Yep.
And kills Jack.
With a whole team of people. Yeah.
Whole crew.
Right. With all the other Tuttles. Yeah.
Kills Jack, and suddenly Sam is now part of the resistance. Sam is like, they're rescuing Sam. Why? He has not done anything for them yet, but they're rescuing Sam, and now Sam is like with them. He's with the crew. Yeah. They're escaping.
We faked your death. Here's your paperwork showing that you're now Archibald Tuttle.
Right.
They go to blow up the building, and Tuttle gets Sam to help him. I'm just like, no, this makes sense. This is logical. And then the weirdest of all deaths / disappearances, I don't know what you want to call this, but as they proceed to continue escaping, they get separated, and then Tuttle gets taken out by a bunch of papers.
He gets consumed. He gets consumed by paperwork.
Yes, by
the greatest metaphor in the movie.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And then he makes his way to a funeral of all things for his mom's friend, who's kind of been a character throughout this thing.
He's been having complications with her plastic surgery, and apparently it caught up to her eventually.
Yeah, she is straight up turned to goo.
Yeah. When that casket opened up, man.
That was gross.
And this is also where, so his mom got more plastic surgery to the point where now she's Jill?
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
There's
Isn't
this weird lunacy going on. Like I said, we're fully, no matter
Oedipus,
what,
total
fully
Oedipus
in the delusion.
We haven't seen it. Yeah, the last time we saw a nightmare like this was Jacob's Ladder. Like,
we've only seen that movie once. We'll never watch it again.
But he's being run down by information services, and Jill comes in and saves him.
No, that's not what happens. He falls into the coffin.
Falls in the casket.
Oh, fair enough.
Gets into some weird world, and then goes through a random door in a wall that the door wasn't there, and then is somehow in the back of the concrete house that he crashed into the cops.
Right.
That Jill is driving the truck, and this is when you're like, we are fully off the rails. We have left the rails. This movie.
But actually, to your point, maybe that's the point of the delusion when he meets her in the truck in the concrete.
Oh no, we're
house.
in the delusion. We've been in the.
No, I mean
that's
that's what I'm saying. Though I'm saying you said it didn't start till later. Maybe it started at the time he was in the truck.
Oh, maybe.
If you want to take that loop, I mean, because then that's where the concrete house is, and that's where the truck is, and she kicks him out the door, and he's in the concrete house, and that's where all this happens, and then he's
interesting.
Then we finally come back to it at the end in the concrete. Anyway, it's another loop.
Yeah,
I don't think that's it, but I'm throwing it out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then basically we find out, nope, none of that happened. Tuttle never saved him. He's sitting in the chair, and Jack and Helperman are looking at him.
Helpman,
and like,
Helpman.
Yeah, Helpman, and it's like, there's nothing we can do. He's gone.
This
Roll
is a
credits.
happy ending.
Is it?
I think this is a happy ending.
I mean, I guess
this is the
living out
happiest
his
ending that he
dream.
could get. Is he's just trapped in his delusion, but his delusion is
Right.
that he
He's
is living with the
Jill.
woman of his dreams out in a cabin in a picturesque forest, and
Right.
it's
I
just
mean,
that
Jill's
this is
dead.
Not
this
having
is
to
the
deal
happy
with
ending.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my
Exactly.
theory, though, is like I said, I think Sam is delusional the whole movie. I don't think everything that happens in the movie is delusional, but I think he has episodes throughout the whole movie. And because my theory is, I don't think Sam ever met Tuttle. I don't think he broke into his house and held him at gunpoint. Because what my theory is, I don't think Tuttle's actually ever in the movie. I think it's always a figment of his imagination. And it's because while at work, he sees information about the Tuttle Buttle stuff, and it just gets cooked into his mind.
Do you think he fixed his own AC?
Maybe. That's the only part I can't get to. Maybe the first Tuttle interaction happens,
You
but
think
I
this
don't
is like
think
a Fight Club thing?
I don't think essentially I don't think after if anything the first Tuttle interaction happened. After that, I don't think he ever runs into Tuttle again.
Gotcha.
I think every time past that, I mean, we know for sure the last time never happened because he's still in the chair. And then I think even the part where he gets his revenge on information or not Central Services taking over his house, I'm like, either A, he did that by himself, or B, no one did it, and he just dreamed up that Tuttle and him switched the hoses. But yeah,
so the interesting thing you're talking about this is the question is does society drive people mad, or do people go mad because of society, or the other way around? So that's really kind of the crux of
why not
one
both?
of the points of the movie. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Chicken
That's
or the
where
egg, Robert?
it
Chicken
gets
or
so
the egg?
confusing.
And all he could have done was just stayed chill.
Yeah,
Just stayed in his old job.
It's the one thing I think about is I constantly say is like how much he ruined Jill's life. But the thing that I also realize is like the only difference is he would be in his normal job and alive, not crazy in a chair. But I was like, if he didn't do everything he did, Jill's life is still screwed.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Right.
Jill,
I mean, everybody's
no matter what,
unfortunately, Jill's life is ruined no matter
The
what.
only person's life that's not ruined is the mom's. She's doing pretty
Right,
good.
yeah, hers was better.
Yeah. She's got it. She's rich echelon. Like,
But her
she went
life
on
was
vacation
already
with her surgeon. She
I'm
came
about to say
back,
her
yeah.
life was already good because she's rich, and it just continues to get good.
Well, that's the movie Brazil, everybody. You should go check it out. It's crazy. It's fun. It's a piece of iconic British filmmaking.
I think it's a thought experiment.
Yeah, I'm so
At the
glad
end
you
of
got
the
to see
day.
it for the first time, Donnell.
I will definitely watch it again because I
gotta,
feel
you
like
gotta.
there's a lot you can.
Oh, there's a
lot
lot
more.
going on.
It-
And we really didn't even talk too much about production design, because the production design in this movie was phenomenal.
Amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah, amazing set work,
Amazing.
little details, a lot of like specialized. They basically like took a bunch of tech and like just stripped off all the casings. So like all the TVs were like, we just took it out of its case
Yeah.
and then put a screen in front of it.
The funny thing is that it really is world building on a Star Wars level, and I'm surprised
more
nobody's
so, maybe.
revisited
Yeah.
this world. You know,
Star
what I
Wars
mean?
only
Yeah.
wish it had the level of detail this movie
Yeah.
has. Like, yeah, every little piece, the posters and everything. Yeah, absolutely crazy. Bob, thanks for joining us on this one. You want to tell everybody where they can find you?
If you're still listening, this was all a delusion. The first break,
Bob's
that's where
not
we fell
really
into
here.
it. And
I'm
we're-
just doing a voice.
We're coming back out of it, right now. Now you can come listen to my drivel at staticradio.com, Static Radio, at Static Radio on most of the socials except for a few. And you don't even want to be on those anyway. I mean, TikTok's going to be illegal, so it doesn't matter.
Well, thanks again for joining us. As always, you can find us on our website, watchinitpod.com. There you can find links to our social media and to email us, watchinitpodcast@gmail.com. Donnell, what else should they do?
Well, we just got done with Fallout. We are doing a couple specials. Our next one, we're going to be doing another short special like we've done before, except this time we got ourselves an actual director coming on the podcast.
And a producer. Yeah, we got
Yes.
a Hollywood insider that we're gonna ask some questions.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
They're not going to tell me who it is?
No, we're not gonna say that yet. It's not fully
Oh,
locked
okay.
in. We haven't recorded it yet. You know, they could back out at any moment.
Yeah.
It's not a household name, but you know, might be at one point. Maybe we're getting on the ground floor and they'll look back on our podcast after we're long dead and be like, they were the first. They discovered this gem.
So yeah,
You should ask them what they think about Brazil.
I might.
But yeah, so be on the lookout for that. Give us any rating review. Oh, and also if you've watched Brazil or you're watching it and you have any thoughts or theories, I would love to hear them because there's a lot to this movie.
Tell us when you think the delusion began.
Yeah. And so yeah, send those to us. Give us any ratings, reviews, 5 stars. And if you made it through this whole podcast, thank you. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.